Welcome to today's edition of 3 Minutes of Halacha. The prayer of Yishtabach concludes the Psukei de Zimra, and yet the origins of Yishtabach are the subject of debate. We don't find the Yishtabach itself in the Gemara, and yet the Rif points out that it was written in the time of Chazal, but not included in the Gemara. Perhaps one theory is because it wasn't said on a regular basis, only for special occasions. On the other hand, the Kolbo suggests that Yishtabach actually goes all the way back to Shlomo HaMelech, whose name is found within the words Shimcha Malkenu Hakel, the acronym of all four of those letters which spell Shlomo. The Datskeni Mibalei Tosfot and Kude even goes further back and says that Yishtabach was written by Moshe Rabbeinu himself. And yet, as the concluding bracha for the Psukei de Zimra, it is also one that is a bit different than the opening, which was the Baruch Shamar. First of all, it doesn't begin with the Baruch because it is closing. But secondly, the Baruch Shamar included a long series of praises for God, whereas the Yishtabach doesn't. Yishtabach rather says, Ki l'chamaem, talking about the fact that we really can't praise God, but God is worthy of all of those praises. This is based, explained Rav Soloveitchik, on actually the concluding words of Nishmat that would normally come before Yishtabach, that even if we had the ability to praise God, we wouldn't be able to do it sufficiently. And so Baruch Shamar starts in one form, and after we go through all of the Psukei de Zimra, we realize that we really can't do it sufficiently. And therefore, we know that God deserves praise, but we hold back a bit. As the concluding bracha, we also need to realize that you're not allowed to speak between Baruch Shamar and Yishtabach because it's a hefsek. However, even though you're not allowed to speak between that unit, you might want to say that you could speak after Yishtabach and before Baruch Hu. The reality is that according to the Chachmei Kabbalah, and it's actually brought in the Shulchan Aruch and in the Mishnah Berurah and Siman Nun Daled, he says that this is one of the reasons why people who were going to go out to war, Hayarei Varach Levav, if a person was afraid of Averot that they had, the example being that he spoke between Yishtabach and the next bracha Yotzer Or. And so we don't speak between Baruch Shamar, we don't until Yishtabach, we don't create any hefsek, and we also don't create a hefsek from Yishtabach until the beginning of the next set of brachot of Kriyat Shema. Nevertheless, it's not as strong of a hefsek because they are two separate units. And therefore, if a person were to have tefillin brought to them, or nowadays when minyanim start very early before the time you should be putting on tefillin, after Yishtabach you are allowed to put on your tefillin, and then you can continue with the Kaddish. However, the Shaliach Tzibur should actually put it on before Yishtabach, and then be able to go directly from Yishtabach into the Kaddish without a delay.